Hi, Josh. We're back with more vanilla Minecraft. I am happy to report that the iron farm is almost entirely done. I think only one cell is still producing iron, but that's going to be a problem for another day. The storage is all hooked up. All of the iron can flow, even though it's not. And I'm kind of proud of this storage. I want to show it to you. Let's go check it out. The first thing that I want to show you is how we have these droppers hooked up at each iron cell. This is a different design than I used in all of the other dropper-based contraptions. But I found a design for the dropper elevator, and I was able to adapt it for the single dropper here. So if you look at this, there's the dropper. You can see the dropper. I have a comparator coming out to a repeater with some redstone that comes around and next to the dropper, and then there's an observer that manages to observe its way over to power this thing. And perfect timing, Iron Golem. I appreciate you. And the comparator reads that something is entering the dropper and flashes the redstone, and it just activates the observer. And it works really, really well. So I've got that hooked up at all 4 of the iron cells. This was all the iron from this single cell. This was all the iron that collected while I was building the storage room and getting everything hooked up. So much. I've got to clean that up. As I showed you at the beginning of this project, I've got this hooked up, and don't mind those. It's got iron flowing into it, and we've got little hidden entrances to get in and out of the storage. Here's the drop, and here's the lift. And I left the water 1 block lower so that when we come out, we can get out, but it's a little bit more hidden this way. So let's drop down into storage. I'm real proud of this place. Alright, so first off, this is how both of the short buildings get their iron routed, assuming they ever make iron. So they come here, they flow around into this right here. Oh, shit, I never hooked up. I need a sign. Well, that'll solve that. Alright. I hadn't done a full check of the system. I did a majority check of it, but, alright, this that I'm in right now, this section is just loop, in case anything gets past our filters. So those 2 small buildings come out here, and they go into the loop. This water lift right here is to meet up with the tall building. Let me come back here. The tall building comes out right here and goes over here, and this is the lift chute that I just showed you. It comes over here, and then it drops back down right over here. But I have this all hooked up this way because this is a filtered hopper for all 3 of our buildings. For everything, and it's only iron that can get through here. And that goes over here to our dropper elevator. And this is the design that I had to kind of scour YouTube for. I fell in the hole. I kept trying other designs by YouTubers that I'm already familiar with and who I regularly watch their Minecraft content, but nothing worked for what I wanted and in the space I wanted. I think I was doing something wrong with a lot of them, but many of the designs were very old. I'm talking like 2013. So I managed to get the observer hookup to this, and it just very, very reliably fires. So there's our filtered hopper, drops down into this one, and then over here. And then up here, right above this dropper and observer, is the double chest that's under the bridge. The bridge runs right here. And once that fills up, then each of these droppers will fill up 9 stacks apiece. And then each of these hoppers will fill up 5 stacks each. Once those are all full, this thing will no longer take iron. The iron will flow right past it, and it'll drop, I think, right here. I don't want to chop any of the wood away because I don't want water leaking out. But once it drops down... Hey, I was right! Once it drops down, it comes through this track and into that water elevator right there. I don't want to go up there because I'll get stuck. But it goes up and then over our entire storage system. Now you can see how we have this set up. I have it set up in 6 rows each for 4 cells. And it's only 3 tall, but that's more than enough iron for us. The interesting thing about this system is that when iron is flowing in too fast for this thing to pick up all of the iron, because, hoppers can only pick up so much at a time, sometimes it does flow past, and it does end up in the system. We are collecting a little bit of iron here. And this is where all of our poppies are going to go, into this stack right here. Everything else is filtered for iron. I am going to decorate this place at some point. I want it to look nice, but I don't have a specific vision in mind for how I want this place to look yet. I have an idea, but I haven't finalized it yet. So I will work on that eventually, but that is not the focus today. The focus today will instead be working on our villager infrastructure. I mentioned a while back that I wanted to turn this area into like a grand hotel. And I flattened it all out, all the way over here, and I decided how far over I wanted to bring this hill. But I decided that this area would not be big enough for a grand hotel, at least as grand as I wanted to build it, because I was planning on housing all of our villagers in there. And I thought, I need something truly massive. And then I spent a little time chewing on that and thinking it through, and I realized it would be so much cooler if all of our villagers had their own buildings and they were separated out by profession. So, like, we could have a library over here for all of our librarians. And then, like, maybe up on the hill, we could have, like, a monastery for all the clerics. And then, like, over here, we could have a bunch of smaller buildings for, like, our stonemasons and our blacksmiths and our Fletchers. Are those the guys who work with arrows? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Fletchers. So, I think that's what I would like to do. Now, I need to spend some time working on how I want to lay this out, because we're going to need to know which professions are going where before we can start designing buildings for them. And I need to figure out how many of each villager I would like to have in those buildings so that we know how big those buildings need to be and what kind of footprint they're going to take up. I'm also thinking we might be able to use this area right here to make like a little town center shopping area for some of our villagers, but I'm going to have to do some research online and figure out how close we can get other villagers to these iron farms without damaging their productivity. And let's keep in mind that right now these two are completely unproductive because I think I need to add extra space. I think what I'm going to do with these buildings is I'll add an extra floor to each of these short buildings and to the tall building because that top cell is also not working. But I'm going to have to do that all off camera because we've already taken an entire episode on this complex. And I don't want to feel like I'm wasting your time. And I don't want you to feel like I'm, taking advantage of my own mistake to fill more content. So I'll do all of that off camera and I'll just give you a quick show when I eventually do that. But for now, this bottom cell in the tall building is the only one doing anything. So I do want to fix that. Once I figure out how close I can get other villagers, I'll see about filling this area and turning it into a little town center. But for now, the plan will be to put all of our villagers over there. So we might have to move this breeding pair maybe up on top of this hill. We can just drop the villagers straight through once they breed, and we can put them underground or something. That would require a little bit of safety proofing this our mine area, but that's fine. It'll just be a matter of making sure that our drop chute for the babies avoids that or is blocked off from it. As of right now, what's happening with the babies is that they're staying in the drop chute that we made down here by our trading hall. But let me head on down there, and I'll show you what else I did in service of getting villagers for this area. Right now, our babies fall in here and they stay in there until they're grown up, and then we can move them around wherever we want. In order to set up that iron farm, I did a little bit of digging behind the wall here. So I already had this area because if I needed to take one of those librarians that we locked in and then found a better trade from another librarian and dispose of the librarian, I would just take him like back here where those guys couldn't see me and eliminate them. And I think this is where we found our slimes, and we might eventually build a slime farm back there. But that's beside the point. Once I had this area, I realized that I wanted to move all of the villagers way the hell down there, so I built this giant water track. Let me see if I can fly through it. It's a very tight space, but yes. Alright, so I have them coming through here, and they just kind of would come over here and get swept into here, and they'd hang out. And then I realized that I needed to move them all the way over to the other side, so I built this thing that goes all the way over there. And then I realized I was taking those guys on a massive and unnecessary journey through unloaded chunks, and I just kind of dug through here and made them a little a little water channel to get out that way. Now having that hole here is really going to help us out when we get all of our villager infrastructure up over here, because I can just send them down that channel, and the hole comes up here. That was the where the water turned. It makes a sharp right turn from this channel, and then just kind of dropped out there. I can float them all up here and bring them into each of their respective buildings. So I'm going to get started on figuring out how many villagers of each type that we're going to want, and what kind of building we're going to want, and where I can fit them all. And once I have some kind of plan, however long that takes, I will get back with you and we'll do an update. Okay, so I've done some math and some planning, and I think if I utilize this entire area right here, as well as this entire area right here, plus a little bit more over here, and some over there, and some right here, I think... Oh, and also up here, and maybe up here. We're going to need a lot of space. But I think I have a plan. Today, we're going to start right here. If you could see these end stone bricks right here, this is going to be the area that we need for our library. So, why don't we jump into a time lapse and get started on this building. Welcome to the Grand Library. I cannot express to you how happy I am that this project is over. You may or may not have noticed, but there were actually two cuts in that time lapse, and that's because I recorded it in three separate pieces. The first time was because I realized that wall right above my head was one block back that direction, and I needed to pull it forward. So I had to demolish from, let's see, everything that my head's blocking. Let's head over there. So everything on this first level right here, up to these stairs and slabs, from here all the way to the corner, I had to demolish the entire thing, and I had to rebuild it. And I still haven't put the lanterns back. I screwed that up. So let me fix that while we're chatting. The second cut was because I was already incredibly frustrated and snappy and short-tempered, and Enderman? Bye. Goodbye. I was so frustrated that I was to the point where Rhea was playing in a box behind my computer, behind my chair, and I snapped at her. And I feel bad for that. I feel guilty. She's just doing what cats do. You know, she was not at fault. I was. But that's how short-tempered I was. And so, at one point, I was standing up over here, and I went to pause the recording, and I accidentally clicked end recording because the buttons are right next to each other, and I was just in such a snit that I hastily, impulsively snapped. And so I ended up with three separate time-lapse recordings. But it pulled together pretty well, I think, and I managed to save it, I guess, at least in my opinion. These guys were my constant companions. There was, I'm sure you caught it during the time lapse. There was one group right over here, stuck in that flowing water. This is two separate groups. I had three pillager patrols spawn over here, just right over here, jump into the river and get swept into this flowing water. That is two separate patrol groups right there, and this was one, and they were just here the whole goddamn time. So I had an audience in-game with all these pillagers, and I had an audience out-of-game with the cats, just wondering why I was so upset. They are very intuitive animals. And that helps a lot when, you know, my anxiety gets the better of me. But it's incredibly frustrating when my anxiety gets the better of me and I just want to be left alone. And then I have these assholes just humming and erring at me. And anyway, the outside is done. The inside is completely bare. So there's a lot more work to do before I can get any villagers in here. But at least I've got it lit up, so hopefully we won't get any creeper surprises. I don't think, I mean, there's a few spots right up here that I'm going to throw some torches, but I don't think there's any spots around here that anything can spawn, because I'm pretty sure everything pulls inward, except for right here at the door. So let me just... Nailed it. There we go. That's exactly what I was trying to do. Let me throw another torch here. Toss a torch over here. I mean, I could solve this by just putting slabs in, and I've used slabs on the entire outside, so I'm pretty sure nothing will ever spawn on the roof or along the edges. Everything is slabbed. So, let me just retrieve my end rods, and I'll see what I can do about getting this place decorated. I'm not making any promises because this project has already taken several hours. This was my entire Sunday. It's a huge building. It's a lot of detail on the outside, and screwing up certainly didn't help me. I'm pretty sure I screwed up twice. I was going to try to start this project Saturday night after my stream, but the stream was so long I didn't get done until after midnight, and I was like, well, I've got the time. I'm pretty sure this won't take me more than a couple hours, and then I started building and completely fucked it up. And so I tore it all down, put it all back in the shulker boxes, and deleted the replay mod recording and just figured, I'll do it. I'll do it tomorrow. And that's what I did. And I still screwed it up again. So I'm gonna try to figure out some kind of interior, not only decoration, but way to contain the villagers. I'm not sure if I want to trap them in rows or if I want to just kind of put them in rooms. I remember the original idea was to put a hotel here and have villagers kind of free-ranging in their rooms with no way out. I don't think I want to do that, because if these are going to be all librarians, I would like for them to be contained. Because if we want a specific book, like a mending book, we don't want to have to hunt for the mending villager, and they all look identical, so that would not help. So I will probably contain them, and man, that thing's imposing. It's very large. I will probably contain them in individual cells, and then we will see what we can make the inside look like. I'm also going to try to get all the chains made and slapped on over here so that this place is finally done, because I'm a little tired of leaving incomplete projects, because I need to add a floor to each of these buildings. There's a lot to do around here, but it feels good to be back and productive and actually growing our city. So, when I have some more progress, I'll get back with you. We're going to do a little detour from the library building. Yesterday was a bad day for me, mental health-wise. I did not... I worked about an hour and a half and then came home because I just couldn't handle the world for a while. And so part of my coping mechanism is going for a run and trying to get some of those endorphins flowing. And you know, I had a couple beers and decompressed, and I decided that I wanted to do something completely off camera, completely off mic. I didn't want to try interacting even with a microphone while I was not feeling myself, while I was not feeling wholly well. And so I fixed some things around the base that needed fixing. So let's step outside, and I'll show you. We've got all of the chains in place here. I also added little light posts to every single porch or garden or whatever you want to call these, patio. Some of them are offset because the walls are pulled forward a bit. And I think this looks really cozy now. I think it looks a little bit more homey. I'm a big fan of this look. Also, I added a floor to each of the buildings over here. So the front buildings are 4 stories and the back building is 7. And I'm fairly positive it worked. I have seen golems spawning in all 4 cells now. I'm not sure if they do all the time, but I could hear one right there, and there's the dispenser, dropper, whatever it is, ticking away. And we're collecting iron. There's some more. Also, I finally moved all of the iron that I had stashed in that chest. I fell in the hole. All the iron and poppies that I had stashed in that chest over there from when we were building, I stashed it all away. So, I am a little bit concerned that this single chest of poppies is going to fill up a little quick. So I may end up having to expand that, or just manually pulling it out and storing it in our flowers, or, you know, as dyes or something at some point. You may notice that I have a lot of levels right now, and that's because I also did the grind to trade with our villagers that are over there in the trading hole. And I got a whole bunch of bookshelves. Ow. And that's because I needed to finish the inside of this building. And it's done now. And I'm really proud of how it turned out. Welcome to the library. Isn't this great? I can't wait to get the villagers in here. I mean, I'm not super excited about transporting, you know, the villagers that we have and then all of the future villagers, because we need 35 villagers in here. Each sea lantern along those bookshelves in the floor, that's where a villager is going to go. So I'm going to need to plant lecterns on each of these squares here that I'm stopping at. And then I'm going to need to plant, I think, fences right here and, like, right here. I think I'm going to put a fence above their heads. and a fence on each side of them, and that will stop them from getting out there. And then I can plant the lectern here, and they won't be able to jump up onto the lectern because there will be a fence here over their heads. I'm gonna test that in a creative world before I do it here, because if there's any chance they can, worm their way forward out from under the fence and jump over the lectern, I don't want to find that out in survival. So that's gonna be something that I do over the next however long period of time. It's definitely not gonna happen this episode, and it's definitely not gonna happen in the next, I don't know, couple days off camera. But it might happen before the next episode. I don't know. It depends how long it takes to breed all of the villagers and then get their trades locked in, because that's a thing that we're going to have to do. But I think what I'm going to do for the time being is I will breed them in the breeding hole that we have, and I will bring them into the trading hole that we already have, and that's where I will spend the time locking in their trades. All of the villagers we have in the trading hole, all of the librarians anyway, I'm going to bring over here. And I'll get them into their places. And I'm doing this alphabetically. I don't have them labeled, but we're going to start here with, what is it? Aqua Affinity, I think, is the very first one. And we're going to work our way along. And I had this idea in my head before I did the math that I wanted our mending villager to be like dead center here, so that seems like the most important, impactful enchantment. I wanted to be able to come in and go straight to our mending villager. But it turns out that there's a hitch right here when I cross a chunk border boundary, and it's a real pain in the ass. Okay, so that is the central position. That's where I imagined in my head the mending villager would be. And it turns out he's actually going to sit here, because that's where he lines up alphabetically. And that's totally fine. But anyway, we keep going along alphabetically, and then we loop over to this side, and the Unbreaking 3 villager, I believe, is the last one, and he will sit here. So, an odd number of villagers worked out perfectly here, and I'm really happy that this build worked out the way it did. If we had had an even number of enchanted books that we could trade for, I would have had to build this, I think, one block shorter or longer, and make it just an even... There's that hitch again. To make it an even number, and then, we wouldn't have the trapdoors in between these doors or something. But it worked out really well. And we've got these ceiling lights. There are sea lanterns under the carpet here. Not all the way. It's like every third block, I think. And it lights up the entire interior really, really well. And then we've got the sea lanterns where all the villagers are going to stand. I'm not sure if I'll put them on carpet or not. I might leave them in minecarts. I'm not sure if I can, or if they'll register that they can still do trades. So that will bear some investigation. But anyway, I've got slabs all the way along the top of all of the bookshelves here, and here in the central bookshelf stacks, we've got that slabbed up. Nothing will ever be able to spawn up there. I put stairs up on top of this so that nothing can spawn up there. All of the sea lanterns have fence posts, and I decided to go with the everybody refers to this as blue, the blue nether stuff. I think it's green, but I'm colorblind, so I wouldn't fucking know. But I went with the green nether stuff. The trapdoors and the fence posts, and we've got them hanging from chains, and I love the way that this look turned out. It's so great. Downstairs is nothing special. It is unfinished, because I'm not sure what I would like to do down here. It's very unfinished. We've got all of the space behind the bookshelves is just empty. But nothing can spawn up there. It's all empty, and the ground down here is lit. So this place should be perfectly safe, and when we eventually figure out what we're gonna do here, I'll manage this. If I need to seal it up, I'll put torches up or something, and that'll be fine. So I'll just be leaving this place for now, and this will be the main focus, of course. And once we get our villagers in here, it's gonna look amazing. It is really good to see our city coming together and growing vertically and growing horizontally and gaining functionality once we get those villagers in there. And I'm really, really happy with how this place is coming together. And there's still so much more to do. We've got work to do over here. We've got work to do over here-ish somewhere. We've got work to do, I think, right here. We've got work to do over here and over here. It's all villager work. But that's okay, because when we're done, we're going to have a thriving town center and all of the villager trades. And I'm very, very excited about that. But that, I think, is where we're going to call this episode. It's been a lot of work. A lot. Like, seriously, a lot of work. But it's very fulfilling work. It feels good to have these structures built and rebuilt, I guess. And I'm really happy with this episode. And I hope you are too. I'll talk to you soon, brother. I miss you.